What's going on, everyone? ODC here, and I'm back with another action figure review. Today's review, we're going to take a look at the JoyToy Dark Source Command Center. This is a modular sprue type kit, the Command Center, and it's all basically just a bunch of chairs, and there's actually a couple fuel cells right here that look pretty cool. In the photo, they actually show that these little rods right here are actually painted, but they're not when you clip them off the sprue. But there is a lot of assembly required here. All these little pieces need individual spruing, and well, you have to just take them off the sprue, and then you have to place them on there. Now there's little clips on the back of each monitor, and then they just kind of fit right over there like that. And then you have a little stand that kind of holds the monitor up, and then you can place it anywhere you want. You can place it here, you can place it in the middle by itself if you want to. You can have just a chair and a monitor together, whatever you want. The chairs also are separate little pieces that you have to kind of glue everything in. You're going to be using quite a bit of super glue. You can use Gorilla Glue, you can use Loctite like I do. I tend to use this style of Loctite, the little pens. It doesn't really matter what glue you use, but I would go with like either one of the paint brushes or one of these for the super glue. These just kind of clip together using force. We just kind of push them together, and they kind of stay in the little rods while they're wiggling in there. You can hear them. They don't fall out. You get 5 of these little, I'll just call them fuel cell things or accessories. And I put 2 underneath the desks, and then I put these other 2 over here. I actually think what I think these are meant to be are little modems for, or maybe energy cells for the computer itself, because I always, in the photos, I'm always seeing them underneath the desks. So that's what I'm assuming they're for, but I'm just going to put them on the side here. It's not the end of the world. The monitors themselves are pretty cool looking. I can appreciate the amount of detail going throughout the sculpt of the little display stands right here. Let me get my pointer so you don't have to see my stupid finger. I like all of the little, like, kind of looks like little pistons right here and pistons over here for the stand. It looks very futuristic tech, and I can appreciate that. Now this is all of this entire set is all 1/25th scale, but it will still work with your 1/18 scale figures, so you don't have to worry about too much of it being a little bit undersized. I'll show some comparisons with the figures themselves and show you a little bit of size. Yes, 1/18 scale figures are going to look a little bit tall, but you know, how many command centers do we actually get here that we have to play with and pose and display with our 1/18 scale figures? It's few and far between. But anyway, going back to this here monitor right here, I'm going to go through each monitor and show you the little differentiations between the stickers. Over here we have a fuel supply system HUD interface sticker. I guess sticker screen you would call this. But it looks pretty cool. Nice little detail, very clear with all of the numbers and such, and the little gauges. And it looks really cool. I can really appreciate the amount of detail that's gone into this little sticker right here. So nicely done with that. The next one is let's see what this one says. It is a futuristic source interface. It says system okay, 89%, and it's got a bunch of other like fuel gauges or what other gauges we have that we're working with here. But it's pretty cool. Like I said, these are all individual little pieces that kind of clip together. As you can see, I kind of got a little bit crazy with the X-Acto knife, and whoops, slipped and kind of gouged it, but it's covered by the monitor, so I'm not too worried about it. And I don't have any plans to sell this set, so it's going to be mine forever. Um, but anyway, this little peg right here kind of pegs into the top portion. These little piston rods right here, they're separate on each side. This whole thing is one sprue on its own, so you would unclip this whole piece, and then you kind of plug that in while you're plugging this in, while you're plugging that in. So it's kind of one boom, boom, boom. And then this thing also can swivel and move on its own. So if you want to swivel it upward, move this piece, it's all articulated, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. But if you want to have it just set up the way it's supposed to be, this is the way it is. And then you just take this piece right here, which is a separate clip piece, and then you have to glue it into the back of the monitor. Just an FYI, because I saw there's only like a couple videos on the command center, and no one's explaining any type of installation or anything. I had to kind of figure things out on my own, because the instructions that you do get is very vague and with specific things, and they're kind of crap. On top of that, they're in a different language, so it's hard for me to understand that. But if anybody has any questions on any of the installation with this set, let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer any of those questions if I don't answer them in this video. The desks themselves are pretty easy to put together. This is all one piece right here. Let me focus on the table itself. Come on, focus. Let's go. The table, this whole piece, this tabletop piece with the keyboards already sculpted on there, is all one piece, and you're going to separate that. And then the leg pieces underneath are separate sprued pieces. We got a dog hair there. Separate dogs? No, separate pieces that you're gonna detach from the sprue, and then you're just gonna clip these three into the bottom. You want to make sure that these angled pieces are faced outward and not inward. So there's that little tip for that. Next up, we've got the chairs. The chairs are four separate pieces. Excuse me. I don't know why I had to count that apparently, but this is a piece that you kind of have to cut off the sprue, separate piece right here, and then you have the back of the chair, which is a separate piece. You're going to have to glue everything in. The back of this has to glue into a little groove in the back of the padded chair head, and then this part has to glue into this piece. You don't really have to glue this. I actually tried not to glue it. It stays in pretty well. And I did this because I wanted these chairs to be a little bit higher for 1/18 scale figures. So that's that. If you hear a bunch of dogs, that's because we have 4 dogs. And next up, for the next monitor, we have another monitor. Same setup as far as the other monitor displays, as I explained, as far as the assembly. This one has a guy, it looks like some sort of surveillance, maybe a drone camera on there, and it looks pretty cool. It says Sector A, Unit 12. So there's that. And then the next monitor over here, before we get to the 2 big boys, it just has a bunch of different numbers and such. It's hard to make out. It says like file, magnifier, or manager, or something like that. It's got an accelerator. Maybe it's kind of doing service or keeping numbers on one of the mechs that it's monitoring or something like that. But that's pretty cool. And then the coup de grace, the big one in the front. And by the way, both of these, let me focus. Both of these tables are exactly the same from each other and the same assembly as well. Moving on to the main middle monitor here, we have let me get my pointer again. We have the middle monitor, which is looks like to be like a digital globe display, which is pretty cool. And we got some numbers and stuff like that. Yeah, it says file manager over there. And then over here, it looks to be focus, come on. Ozone, oxygen, all this stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Nice little features. Very detailed. Very impressed with the detail on these. And then over here, it looks like we've got some other insignias, some more gauges, different types of important maps and such. And then down here we have some percentages, power usage. All of this is looking pretty cool. All this is looking pretty cool with that. And then we've got a little monitor for the, looks like to be like a drone or something like that. And more drone photos, futuristic fuel supply system, HUD interface. So pretty cool stuff. I just want to make a quick little video kind of discussing the command center. With the back, now let me explain this one. With the back of this monitor, I wanted to explain specifically how to assemble this, because it's kind of eerie when you try to assemble these parts right here. Damn, I have like no room. Sorry if I keep bumping into the camera. I have like no room to work here. But the back of these monitors right here, where the little clips are, these are extremely tight to fit into here, but they do rotate once you get them in. If you feel like you're going to break it, you're not. Just try to push it a little bit more. You kind of have to have them go in this way. That's how it shows on the instructions. So you want to have this kind of piece, if I can focus here. You want to kind of have this little display piece right here where this little symbol faced the inside going this way. You want to make sure that the clip piece is facing outward. So when you glue this monitor into this clip piece, it's facing outward, and you can swivel this and articulate it any way you want. Like I said, it's a little tight. It feels like it's going to snap and break, but it's not going to. Just try to be careful. Try to use both hands when you're swiveling these. This way you don't snap anything. The monitor's also articulated up here, so you can move that like that. If it sounds a little scary, it's not going to snap. At least I don't think. Nothing's really snapped here when I'm adjusting this monitor piece. So you can face it downward, or you can face it a little bit more neutral position. But everything should work pretty well. Now, plugging this into this back stand here, which you need the stand to hold it up for the rest of the monitors to stay. What they don't show on the instructions is that you have to put a clip right here. See this hole right here? These are all these slot holes for all these clips to be glued in. You have to glue them in. They have to be glued in. If you don't glue them, they're going to keep popping right out. So you have to glue it, and then what you want to do is, in the instructions, it shows you to have this kind of clip on the bottom. So make sure that's facing the bottom, and then you have the bar on the top. And then glue this clip facing downward, just the way it is, and then it's just going to slide over this piece like so on the back. Because it doesn't show you that in the instructions, then it's just like, oh, just slide this piece once you've installed all this. Just slide that over, and you're like, what the hell? How am I supposed to do that? So make sure you use all your clips. You will have extra pieces at the end. I will show you how many extra pieces you have at the end. Right here, you should have, after installing everything, a couple extra pieces, which is nice that JoyToy decided to do that. We got our little, put our little modems over here. You should have 2 extra clips in case something happens to the clips, and then you should have 2 extra monitors. So if you wanted to put some more stickers on these 2, which you do have a whole extra sticker sheet that they give you after you use all the sticker sheets on these, you have a whole nother set of stickers, which is great. So you can use these 2 extra monitors. Maybe if you wanted to do a little bit of customizing, which I might do, and glue these to these right here, you could have 2 extra monitors like so, and make them look, the command center look even larger. And then you're also given 1 more table leg for it to stand on in case something happens to one of these. You could buy 2 sets of these. These run for around anywhere from $20 I've seen to $25. I'm not sure if these are still available. at the date of this review. They may or may not be sold out. I'm not 100% sure on that, but this will fit in with your 1/18 scale figures. Now, here is a JoyToy figure that goes with the set. Now, like I said, these are 1/25th scale intended, but as you can see, a 1/18 scale figure still works perfectly with this set. So I don't really have any issues using a 1/25th scale set with the 1/18 scale figures because I think they work pretty well. But there's a Marauders Task Force figure. There's my Agent Faces. And then we'll bring in a G.I. Joe. And we'll just bring in friggin' Backstop over here. There's a G.I. Joe. And here's a female Marauders Task Force figure. We'll just bring in my custom Slither, and she works well. I want to say the female figures work the best in the command center sitting down, but there's a little bit of scale for everybody. So we got female figures. Here is a new Sculpt era figure with this set. Probably fits in the best, I want to say. So there's that. Obviously, the JoyToy 1/25th scale figures will fit in perfectly with this in scale, but like I said, 1/18 scale, 3 3/4 inch, 4-inch figures still work. Here's a Marauders Task Force dog with the set. I can get him to sit, or just sit with the, there we go. There's a dog. He's not really posed that well, but he's a dog nonetheless. But there you go. You get an idea of what to look for. Here's actually a custom vintage G.I. Joe figure with it. So if you want to use them with your vintage G.I. Joes, you could. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'll show real quick how these figures look seated. I want to say this, the JoyToy figures do kind of have a little bit of an issue sitting in the chairs just because they have an issue kind of sitting in general. But you can still have them seated in the chair. But here's a female figure sitting in the chair, and she sits quite well. I think these female figures really do work the best with Marauders Task Force. Kind of have to work with their legs a little bit, but, you know, use your imagination. She's seated in there. It looks good enough. It works, I think. So, but that's my quick little review on this. I know this might actually be a longer review than I intended, but this is a nice little set. Like I said, it runs for around $20 to $25, depending on what market you buy it from. I think Big Bad Toy Store, I bought this for $25, so I would go that route if it's still available. But definitely the verdict for me is a 2 thumbs up. Let's get my other thumb in there. We got the 2 thumbs up and full seal of approval. Definitely pick this up if you come across it. And if you find 2 sets, I would definitely pick up 2 sets because this can work with a bunch of your G.I. Joe stuff. You can put this in your flag. It'll fit right in. You can put this with your Defiant, which I think would work the best. You can use it any way you want, and it's modular, so you don't have to have it necessarily set up the way I have it set up. You can move these tables around, these little individual tables, which I didn't really go through, but they do have a nice sculpt on their own. But you can move these all around. They're all separate pieces, so it's pretty cool. And but yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you guys on the flip side.